with me from Mott and Chase, Jeb Masterson. He's the guy that broke all the news about 4 or 5 weeks ago on the Watch Hill market, one of the hottest markets in the country. And Jeb shared with us then that there was one house for sale in all of Watch Hill, one of the hottest markets. Jeb, how are we doing down there in Watch Hill these days?
Josh, the market has increased tremendously. We have doubled the number of houses for sale in Watch Hill. We now have 2 houses for sale in Watch Hill, and the new house probably will not be on the market long. It's a neat little spot.
So you sell real estate. It makes it a little more complex when you don't have any real estate. And people, this is kind of the time, hey, listen, we want that summer house. We want to get down to the southern part of Rhode Island. It's a great place. We either live in Rhode Island or in Boston or Connecticut or New York. Where are you telling them to look?
All along the coast still. So, my main area is probably from New London County, Connecticut. So Mystic, Stonington, North Stonington, and then up to Narragansett. I mean, yeah. that whole area, still has, they've got to get their feet wet, and we say to everybody, if you're coming in, we explain the market is tight. You have to have your ducks in the row. You have to be either pre-approved if you're looking for a mortgage, and you have to be ready to go. But there are still, if people are ready, when something comes on, they can pick it up within a week.
And how's the rest of the market looking? Charleston, up the coast, South Kingstown, Narragansett. How are all those? What's the level of inventory in those communities?
Inventory is still low. I think across the state we're still down about 30% year over year. But there's still properties on the market, and right. Anyone who's I always say, today's clientele is probably the best educated clientele ever, just because of the websites, Realtor.com, Zillow. So, there's still stuff on the market, and it comes up, and if you're quick, and if you're ready to go, you know what you want, you can still grab it.
And in this market of, 7% interest rates, coupled with near record high cost of the median price of a single family home in Rhode Island is still about $450, ebbs and flows by each month, up or down 10 or 20 grand, but it's right in that $450 sweet spot. How much frustration is there amongst buyers who are trying to look in the South County area of Rhode Island?
I think there's probably a tremendous amount of frustration, but I think they have to keep in mind, you can't wait. You can't wait for the prices to come down. You wait for the prices to come down, you're going to have 3 million more people in the market. Buy now, refinance later. Nothing should be stopped. Our prices, our prices are not going to drop. We're centrally located between Boston, New York City, all the suburbs of those major metropolitan areas. People want to come here. They love our beaches. We've got a lot going for it. So I do not see us taking a nosedive at all. We're on a nice trajectory, and I don't think that's going to stop, even when we get more inventory. Excuse me.
Yeah, listen, the national economists in the real estate industry, whether they're amongst the Wall Street firms or the National Association of Realtors, all seem to point to the same projections, which is that when interest rates come down, then people are going to flood into the market, and prices are going to continue to climb. They're not going to go down. There's no indicator right now, other than some, massive economic calamity, that
Exactly.
There's going to be a decreases in price in real estate.
Yeah, if you want in, you've got to act on it and do not wait. At the end of the day, if you're renting and you're still trying to buy, if you're that first home buyer, you're not making anything there. You're not making any appreciation there. Do everything you can. I know it's frustrating, but we can help you get into a house.
And then talk a little bit about, South County not only as a summer experience is a tremendous place, but the schools are down there are pretty rock solid. South Kingstown schools, Narragansett schools, all
Yes.
seem to perform pretty well. Is that also fueling some of the greater interest in that marketplace?
I would imagine so. I mean, I think, since the beginning of time, we have always moved as parents, we want to put our children in the best school district as possible. We have some fantastic schools. I mean, our children, when we moved back from California, they went to school in the Wakefield area.
Yeah.
And one child went to Fordham, the other went to MIT. And so, I mean, it has a lot to offer. Good, if you want sports, there's a more sport oriented school. If you're,
Right.
more academic or you want the mix, you can find that here. I mean, we're not lacking anything down here.
Jeb, talk a little bit about what you foresee for the course of the summer, and let's go to that secondary home, that multi-million-dollar property. What's the market going to look like from Narragansett down to Watch Hill? We, as you know, we're primarily Rhode Island focused. We try and ignore the entire nutmeg state as best we can.
All right, we will cut them out. I think so from Narragansett down, I would say, I mean, you're going to see more houses coming on the market. The spring season starts, the houses, the grounds are looking better. You'll have an increase in inventory. I mean, it's not going to be massive. And I think the people that have been on the sidelines, they'll see that as their choice to get in, unless they want to wait again another year. But most of our activity, I think, will come in May, June, July, and then towards the end of the summer, after people, I think August for us is always, it's vacation mode for everybody. And I mean, people are up here, they'll look at houses, but then they're thinking of their children getting back to school and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
Maybe September, October, if they're in the buying mode, then they'll step back into it then.
Let's talk interest rates. I was watching Squawk Box on CNBC this morning. Analyst from Putnam Investments up in Boston was on. She was talking about the reality of interest rates. The Fed had sort of inferred going into the year that there would be 7 rate cuts of one size or another. Now it's looking like maybe 3, and she even cautioned that there might not be 3 cuts because jobs are still flying high. Inflation is still nagging a little bit higher than where the Fed wants it to be, and the stock market's performing exceptionally well at record levels. So could we see, based on what you're talking to lenders all the time, you get all the data from all the national real estate entities, could we see a year in which we see 1/2 point rate cut and little else?
Yeah, yes, I think certainly. I think before when they were talking earlier in the year for all these rate cuts, getting back in the 5s again, I think it's pie in the sky. I mean, I don't think you should be looking for that. I think, we're at this level for a while.
Right.
And I don't see a big drop, and obviously there could be something political prior to the election, a manipulation of the market, if you will. That's very possible, but I don't see it to be drastic.
Jeb, it's hard to, for people who recently saw 2% and 3% interest rates now have to hard swallow 7%. But when I bought my first house, I believe it was 11% interest rates on the first home, and it wasn't the end of the world. I mean, it got into the first house. It was a banged up fixer-upper for $87,000, and we sold it a few years later. Didn't make much money on it either. The market was very, very depressed at the time, and that's just sort of the reality. But what it did do was allow us to build up some equity and to build sort of that story for buying the next house.
Yeah. I mean, you're building the equity. You've got more write-offs. At the end of the day, I think you are better off. If you can swing it. And I'll be the first to say, Josh, I feel for the younger generation and the percentage of their income that it's taking them to get into their first house versus when we were younger. It's a big number, and I think a lot of things I think have to change. And I think a lot of that also has to do with, planning and zoning, and we need more housing. And there's no question about it. And I hope here now in Rhode Island with this ADU proposal, I hope that goes through, and that could free it up a little bit.
Talk a little bit about Watch Hill, a special place. Celebrity are embedded in the community now. It's always had tremendous wealth from around the country. But now when you have sort of super high flyers like Taylor Swift living there, it draws attention really globally. What's it going to look like this summer as houses come on the market? I mean, maybe you tell me. There's 400 homes in the Watch Hill Fire District. Are we going to see 20 go on the market in the course of the entire summer?
No, I don't. It won't even be close to that. I think in the fire district you might see 3, maybe 5 more come on, and that might be wishful thinking on my part. But I think it'll be, summer as usual. As you say, Watch Hill is a special place, and down in the village, I mean, we're surrounded by water on 3 sides. The Taylor Swift effect, if you will. Honestly, I don't know how often she uses her place now. I think it's mainly her parents, and they've been a great asset to the community. And everyone that knows them, I do not know them personally, everyone who knows them thinks very highly of them. But the Watch Hill area is a special area, and people, they also, unless they're forced to, unless there's been a change in the family situation,
Yeah.
Has died or something, they don't turn over a lot. And it's, because it is that special. I mean, we don't have a lot of people move in there and say, yeah, this isn't for me, they like
buy one year, sell the next. Not a lot of house flipping going on in Watch Hill.
Not at all. I don't understand that. No, but I always say to people, rent. There's nothing, come on in. If you can't find a house to buy, rent for a little bit. Rent for a season. Rent for 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Get your feet wet. See if the people are your people. I mean, it's that you've got to feel comfortable wherever you are. When I'm showing a house, I say to people, listen, let's just sit down in the living room. Can you see yourself here?
Yeah.
It's got to work. I mean, I can't talk anyone into a house. They either feel it or they don't feel it. And
do we need more sort of carpenter beach areas where there's lots of little shacks tied up next to each other so that more people can have access to the water? I mean, is that?
I would love that. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that. Let's, whether it be tiny homes or, I mean, all this stuff can be done very attractively.
Yeah.
Let's just open it up more so there's more access to it. I mean, you go to so many of these town hall meetings and they're like, oh, no, we are overbuilt here. I don't know if you follow the economist Thomas Sowell. I'm reading his one of his books, Economic Fallacies, and he talks about, when people say the planning and zoning department, they say, oh, no, we are overbuilt. I think the fact is it's less than 10% of the full United States is even developed. 10%.
Yeah.
It's, we've got the space.
Yeah, I think there's more woodlands now than there was like in 1880 because we were an agricultural state then, and now we're a suburban urban state, but all that farmland's mostly been forested up and not a lot of development. When Benny's closed, I had Arnold Bromberg on, one of the family members who owned it, and he said, listen, one of the problems is when we opened 50 years, when I started in the business 50 years ago, Rhode Island had 1 million people. Today, Rhode Island has 1 million people. So, with online competition and other factors in the economy for Benny's, it became a much more complex business model for them. Last word to you, Jeb. Talk about what you think this market is going to look like midsummer, where we'll be from pricing. If we're at $450 median single-family home, where do you guesstimate with your that magic 8 ball that you bought at Benny's years ago? You're shaking it up now. What do we think the market's going to be?
Obviously, I believe the market will still be up. If we're at 450 now for median, I'd say you're probably going to be 460, 465, 70. I do not see the market dropping here. And again, I go back to, it's always location. But the state of Rhode Island, we are just so blessed to be in between 2 large metropolitan areas, have fantastic beaches. People do want to come here, and with the shift in working, and even if 30% of people don't go back to the
Yeah.
office, still can work from. I mean, we're talking millions of people.
Right.
So I don't see it dropping. I still see a lot of frustration for people, trying to get a house. I still see probably multiple offers, and you've got to be ready with a clean offer. Make your offer as clean as you're comfortable with, and go with the best shot. If you don't get the house, there'll always be another house. There will.
Jim Masterson, always appreciate you taking the time. You've always got news to share with people, and always appreciate your honest assessment of what the Rhode Island real estate market looks like. For everybody else, stay tuned. We are only on Wednesday, and it has been a rock'em sock'em week of news. If you didn't seen it today, there's a very a significant piece of analysis on a couple who had a building remodeling firm and all the trouble that they caused. DBR's now taken action on them. They've got court judgments against them as well. Stay tuned for much more. And on Washington Bridge, if you didn't read yesterday's article, absolutely dig in on that one, how under Peter Alviti, the director of DOT, he shifted from engineers overseeing project to, let's say, people with less technical expertise, people who were previously interior designers, worked at the zoo in Providence, or other similar types of positions. So take a look at both those articles. Everybody stay tuned for much more.